Let's talk about worry. Let's talk about worrying and worrying about things in your life, worrying about things, worrying about other people. I myself sometimes, and even right now, am going through this state of worrying about other people. I'm worried about what other people think of me. I'm worried about how other people are moving and how it's affecting my life. I'm worried about my future. I'm worried about things that are happening in my life. And we want to escape from this worry that we have about our futures and about how people are moving in our lives. And it actually makes me sick. Like, it actually makes me go crazy because I don't want to worry about the things that I'm worried about, but at the exact same time, I can't let go of worrying about it. I can't let go of wanting to figure out the worry itself, you know? And I'm trying to figure out and boil down what that comes down to. I believe a lot of our worries come down to control and this sense of trying to control everything in our lives. You know, it's something that I talked about the other day with my girlfriend, and we were trying to figure out like what's going on with, each other and how we could figure out like what's really happening in our lives. And it really all comes down to this sense of control. I want to control every aspect of my life. And I believe a lot of that comes down to, for myself at least, I never really had a lot of control in my own life up until a certain point. And it was really up until a point where I made the decision to say, I want control over my life. When I was growing up, everything was done for me. A lot of things were done for me. And I'm grateful for the things that I was given and grateful for the luxuries that I had that a lot of other people my age right now and people at the time were not able to have. My parents were always able to give me gifts on Christmas. My parents were always able to provide me with money if I needed it. I was always able to have all those things. But that also didn't allow me to ever know how to control things in my life or handle things in my life on my own. My dad would lay out breakfast. He would make sure that, he knew what I wanted to eat. So every single time I woke up in the morning, I'd wake up and, my Pop-Tarts were sitting there along with my juice poured out to a certain amount that he knew I'd want. My mom and my dad would watch and learn my habits to the point where they at least felt that they knew every single thing about me, and they felt that they knew every single thing that I wanted in my life. And I can't blame them necessarily for that because of parenting, I guess. But at the exact same time, it didn't really allow me to ever know what was going on in my life because I didn't have to. Everything was done for me. Everything had its own kind of formulaic occurrence to it. So then I get put into high school, I get put into college, I get put into real world situations where I have to control things and I'm scared and I don't really know what to do or how to go about it. And it's because that sense of, oh, you don't ever have to worry, we got this, that's now away. And it actually kind of frustrates me because things that I had to have learned on my own, I just had to learn at a later time. And I can't get upset at that, and I can't get upset at my parents for that. But I now worry about things a lot more that are out of my control, literally because I never had control over a lot of aspects in my life. And I think a lot of us do that. I think a lot of us worry about things that are out of our control. And usually the things that we worry about, we are worried about because they're not in our control. We can't control them. For example, myself, I want to grow in my music career. I want to grow on YouTube. I want to grow as a creator. And it's not something that I could visually see is going to happen yet. Like I see evidence that it's possible. I see that I have fans, or I don't even like to call them fans. I have people who support me. I have supporters, and I have people who support my message and my passions. But I don't still see what I want to see. So that causes me to worry and causes me to worry about the future. It causes me to worry about if quitting my job was a great idea. It has me worried about if working towards what I want is a good idea. It has me worried about if going towards my dreams was a good idea or not. And it sucks, because we want to believe in ourselves and we want to believe in our dreams, but then our fears and our worries kind of prevent us from fully going towards that. And I think one thing that I need to remember more, and that I think a lot of us need to remember more in order to not have these worries take control of us and take over us is, think about this, right? For example, you're worried about what somebody thinks. Now, I'm worried about how my dad is going to move in my house, or I'm worried about how people in my life are going to react, and when I start being more of myself. What people think of you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with themselves. And if somebody has a problem with how you're being, their problem with you and what they think of you is none of your business. Now, that's something that I forget very often, but what somebody else thinks of me or how somebody else feels about me is really not my problem. And as soon as I start worrying about that, I leave the present moment. And as soon as you start worrying about that, you leave the present moment and you now make somebody else's worries about you or somebody else's problems with you your own problems and your own worries when they weren't yours in the first place. You obtained them because you were trying to figure them out. If somebody's got an issue with how you're being, if somebody has an issue with anything about you, it has nothing to do with you and it has everything to do with themselves. If they have that much of an issue about what you're doing, or if somebody has that much of an issue about how you're being with something, obviously they don't want to focus on themselves because they're worried about their own future or their own past or themselves. So they don't want to focus on that. So what they do is they put all of their attention and all of their focus on something that they feel like they can control. For example, if you have somebody narcissistic in your life, what makes them feel sane is having control and having mostly control over whoever they're trying to control. So if you're the person that the narcissistic person is trying to control and they feel like they can't control you anymore, it's going to make them crazy and it's going to make them feel insane because their sense of being alive relies on their ability to control you. So as soon as that's ripped away, or even a piece of it is starting to go away, they're going to start going crazy because they're now worried about something that they didn't have to worry about before. Now, worry is something that does not live in the here and now. Worry happens when we get anxious. And when we get anxious, anxiety does not live in the here and now. Anxiety does not live in the present moment. And every time I think about that, I get a little anxious, and then I realize that's not me being in the present moment. When you really think about it, your worries, your troubles, your fears, your anxieties, they're not happening right now. Now you could say, oh, well, I'm feeling them right now. Yes, you are feeling them right now. Yes, you are thinking about them right now, but they're not happening in this very moment. They're not happening right now. Your worries are things that already happened. So things that happened in the past, and your worries are things that usually are going to happen or you don't know are going to happen. So what is that? That's the future. But none of those worries or fears or anxieties are happening right now in the present moment. So I think something that I have to remember, and something that you should remember, is that every single time that you're worried, every time that you're anxious about something, you need to bring yourself back to now. You need to bring yourself back to what's happening in the present moment. And sometimes this is difficult, but it's not something that's impossible. We always forget that our worries and our anxieties and our troubles and anything that really bothers us, it's not happening right now. We're worried about something that already happened and we don't want it to happen again. That's one thing, right? We're worried about what already happened, so that's the past, and we don't want it to happen again, so we're worried about the future. But none of that has anything to do with right now. None of that has anything to do with the present moment. So as soon as we let go of what we believe is going to happen and how we feel about what already happened, and we just live in right now, we're going to be okay, and we could be okay, and I could be okay. I'm too worried all the time. I'm too stressed all the time. And a lot of my stress and anxiety and worries are caused by myself because I want control, and because I want control over what I can't control. I can't control what people think of me. I can't control what you think of me when you watch this video. I can't control how somebody feels about me. I can't control how my parents are going to act when I start being more of myself. I can't control if I'm gonna grow in my music career, if I'm gonna blow up on YouTube, or if I'm gonna do any of those things. I can't control those things. And those worries have everything to do with the future, but also everything to do with the past, because my past experiences create my worries for the future. Your past experiences create your worries for the future. Stop trying to control what's gonna happen. Stop trying to control how people are gonna think about you. Stop trying to control how people view you and what's going to happen in the future and what already happened. Just focus on the now. Focus on what's happening now. Focus on what you can control. And the only thing that you can control is not your external environment, but you can control your internal being. You can control internally how you are going to respond to situations and not react. You can control what you feel and how you're going to feel about something. I don't care. That's an opinionative statement, but I believe that you can control your internal being and how you internally are going to take things, how you internally are going to respond to things, and how you are therefore going to project those things out into the world. Subscribe if you like me. It's Will Armani.